Coming at you live, covering all things professional wrestling. A show by members of the Busted Open Nation. Welcome to the Nation's Corner. Here are your hosts, the Nation's Corner crew.
Hey, what's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to Nation's Corner. I am Front Row, joined this week by John in South Jersey and our good friend Ezra. What's up, people?
When did Ezra get here?
Dude, I don't even know at this point when I get here.
Okay.
When did I get here? Oh, just now. We're good. Okay. So we were talking in sort of the pre-show about, like, I feel like there's so many people that host this show now. I never know what combination y'all are gonna get on a Saturday. But this is what you're getting tonight.
Yeah.
So let's hope for the best.
Always keep them guessing.
We can only give you more. We can only give you more disappointments. So there's our barometer.
It's all uphill from here. So we're good. It's a good. As I'm glad you're joining tonight because it was one hell of a week in pro wrestling. Like, I feel like every week we keep going, oh my God, this was a crazy week, and we don't get to like half of the stuff that happened. But just in the last like 48 hours, all kinds of shit has happened, right? I do kind of want to start with, obviously, the thing that I think everybody is talking about was a big return on SmackDown tonight. And to help get us kicked off in the right way, let's hear from the last professional broadcast.
And there's a moment of silence, and you go, oh my God, this is it. This is the make or break. And then, light it up, light it up, light it up, light it. You go, oh my God, it's happening. And the commentary lays out and the crowd tells the story. AJ Lee's Tron graphics pop up on the entryway, and you're like, oh my God, we're getting it. It's really happening. And Seth is in the audience going, no, no. And Becky's in the ring going, it can't be. And at the perfect time, AJ Lee shows herself, same outfit, skipping out of the entryway. AJ Lee is back.
Okay, so there are moments as a wrestling fan when we're surprised. There are moments when we're disappointed, when there are boring weeks, there are exciting weeks. Last night, to me, was one of those moments where there were breadcrumbs, there were teases. Nobody really knew what was happening. But when it happened, it was like the perfect thing. It was like waiting all week for that perfect meal or whatever. Oh, I can't wait to meet my friends for a burger. And it's everything you wanted it to be. And to me, like this return was exactly what I was hoping for, and everything excitement-wise. Like I just became like pure fan in that moment. And as for you, who's someone who's been there for Punk's big returns, and all these big moments in Chicago, being from the area, what was that moment like for you?
For me, it made me feel like not a kid because I was not a kid when she was around. But it just, to see the reaction from that rabid Chicago crowd who had been waiting since Punk dropped that hint on Raw this past Monday, it was phenomenal. I mean, I was beyond excited. I was so happy that she's finally getting a second run at this. It's been 10 long years. You know, we haven't seen her. It was April 3rd, 2015 that she retired. And almost 10 and a half years later, she's back in the WWE, rumored to be on a full-time basis. We'll see what happens. But, man, to have her back inside of Chicago, where she currently resides now with her husband, CM Punk, in front of that rabid crowd, in a moment like we had last night, it was unbelievable. And you got to give props to Becky and Seth, though, because their reactions made everything that much better. Like Sam said in the video, and by the way, Sam, we love you, but please never sing ever again. I
enjoyed his singing voice.
I'd rather listen to Yoko Ono's greatest hits than hear Sam sing "Light It Up" ever again.
Sorry.
Ouch! Ouch!
Sorry.
Hey,
But
we have to give thanks to the last professional broadcasters, to the host of Not Sam Wrestling and Not Sam Wrestling Live. Sam is a good friend of the show and was kind enough to let us use his content this week. But yeah, to your point, it was crazy because I think we've been talking about all the little breadcrumbs. And I actually had to go back because I think we were talking to Andre the Producing Giant about this. How far back do these breadcrumbs go? Right. In my mind, they go back almost past like WrestleMania, because there was the moment where Becky's backstage and she's so excited for everything that's going on. They're giving us bits and pieces of like letting us know that they're a couple. Like we all know that they're a couple, Becky and Seth, but like they didn't really make that part of the storyline until she started referring to Seth as her hot husband. And to me, that was like, okay, this is where the story starts. And through this whole time, it went all the way to the backstage footage at Mania, the backstage footage at SummerSlam, where she was like, we got him. And it was like a team thing. And then, of course, she's out there cutting these promos and then the low blow and all that stuff that's happened since then. But to me, there's been a series of at least 6 or 7 like big moments that you can look back on over the last like 4 or 5 months and say, oh shit, like it was there.
Yeah, I agree. And now that, well, first and foremost, we always talk about certain things, how they're supposed to happen. And even Sam said it. We got what we wanted. They didn't swerve us. They didn't tease us any longer. They absolutely delivered on what everybody was thinking and talking about. And it couldn't have gone any better, in my opinion. Everything was absolutely perfect. The right timing, the right place, the right people involved. Everything about it was chef's kiss. But yeah, and now that we've seen it come to this, we have 2 questions. Where do we go from here? Stay tuned and watch the product. But you can see, like you mentioned, Front Row, there were little things along the way that were said and done, not necessarily as part of a match or anything else that either Seth and or Becky had going on, but there were little things you're like, oh yeah, well, that point, okay, that's interesting. And then, okay, now that's interesting too. And to the point where,
Oh, we lost Seth. He'll be back.
He'll be back. But to the point where, now it all absolutely makes sense. And I won't say for once, but WWE did exactly what everybody wanted them to do. They absolutely paid it off. And we hit the same button. You hit the button.
I'll grab him.
There we go. Now we got it. But
I don't think John wants you to be part of the show. I think it was just that's how.
Yeah. But yeah, how it all went. And the fact that we're talking about this particularly gives you an idea of how big and how anticipated this was. Mind you, this was John Cena's last appearance on SmackDown and in Chicago. And by the way, the one behind 21-1, the one also showed up last night, Brock Lesnar. Those 2 events, yeah, that guy. Remember him? Just those 2 events were more than enough to sell 2 hours of SmackDown. But they closed it out with an absolute, huge bombshell.
Yeah, so one of the questions I had was around, and you guys touched on a couple of points. I just want to bring up some good images. Like, I think Becky and her reactions, and I don't have a clip from Rollins, but the 2 of them did such an amazing job of reacting to this moment. And when AJ Lee got into the ring, Becky looked terrified. Like, Becky's who she is. Like, she's the man. She's like a world champion. She headlined WrestleMania. Best women's wrestler of all time. Sports Illustrated has said as much.
Apparently,
but seeing her fear was like really cool in the moment, because this is such a big star. This is such a big return. There was a couple of other cool moments from this whole thing where we got to see Punk and AJ embracing in the ring. She is a small person, small but mighty. and this is one of my favorite shots, was the camera got right around the side and got this amazing shot of the two of them on the corner post. Like, and there's a ton of photos out there of Punk, and just he's so proud and excited for her. Like, he's really living in that moment of like just being emotional about it. And I thought it was super cool. But your point about, so, okay, we saw this whole thing unfold. It was amazing. They go off the air. Obviously, AJ beats up Becky, and all that ends. And then they go off the air with, I think, AJ running around in the ring. And then the post SmackDown footage made its way around social media with them interacting with the crowd and exiting. But she did have Becky's title, her Intercontinental Championship. So does that insert her into that storyline? Or, to my mind, this sets up, AJ and CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch for WrestlePalooza, which they haven't made official. I haven't seen anything as of this morning. So my question to you guys is, do you want to see the tag match first, or do you want to see AJ right into a title mix?
I want to see the tag match first, because it's I don't want to say it's obvious, but if they want to capitalize on last night, they almost have to. If they try to get AJ into they can get AJ into just like the husbands that battled. They can get to the story of AJ and Becky at any time. But if they want to, right now everybody is absolutely anticipating a mixed tag match fairly soon, and WrestlePalooza more than likely being the destination.
Yeah, and I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard from a couple of reliable sources that this is not a short-term deal. Like you said, she signed a full-time contract, a multi-year deal, which to me sets up, I mean, I remember seeing her in heels going, holy crap, she hasn't lost a step. Like, she's incredible. And to see her on screen last night, I don't think she's aged about 5 minutes since the last time we saw her in a WWE ring. Like, good Lord, the woman's in incredible shape and can obviously clearly wrestle at a high level. So how do you come back at this age and not having missed a step after a decade? But so to me that says,
still have those abs.
I know, right? My God, I've never had abs like that.
Dude, there's a meme going around right now of it says me versus the abs I want, and the first part is Punk eating a donut at Brawl Out, and the second part is AJ Lee coming back.
Nice.
But yes, it's incredible. All right, not to pull back curtains here or anything, but obviously she hasn't just been sitting at home eating donuts, taking care of Larry all this time. Obviously, the woman has kept herself in amazing shape and probably put a good deal of work in since the last time we saw her in anything, which would have been heels, 2 years ago at this point, 3 years ago. And now, I mean, it wasn't like she just got off the couch and said, all right, fuck it, I'll go hang out with my husband tonight. There was definitely a plan and things in place. So, but again, kudos to her. And we're seeing that, especially with these women, age is just a number now. You have women that are, quote unquote, over the hill that are in better shape than they've ever been, and having that prior ring experience of being good wrestlers. It's all just coming into a beautiful combination that absolutely is going to work.
Yeah, and I think this is what's so exciting right now, is because we're fans of NXT, we're fans of Evolve, of the ID program. There's all these women. There's just such a stacked roster, starting at Raw and SmackDown and NXT, and just going all the way through the WWE and all the affiliated companies with TNA and AAA and all of these different opportunities. And there's stories there already. Like, there are I saw so many social media posts from like people who have become big stars in the industry going, holy shit, she's back. Like, what do I have to do to get a match with her? Like,
Right.
this is, like Kathy Kelly was like, I got into wrestling because of her. Jackie Redmond said that. Like, there's so many wrestlers that were over the moon with the return. And so my brain is already going, like, who do I want to see? Who do I want to see those matches with? And of course, it's going to come down to story. You have built-in stories with like a Roxanne Perez, who was aligned with CM Punk, and they did that thing in NXT together. And now there's a story there. So, and I remember us talking about that too when that happened, when Roxanne was in the ring with Punk. We were going, oh God, if AJ was just back, like, this would be perfect. And it didn't happen then. And now it may happen. Yeah. And there's a bunch of other people too. Like, Punk named a bunch of people on his contact list that he could have as backup, your Rhea Ripley's of the world as well. So I'm excited to see what the stories look like. I would probably prefer the tag match for WrestlePalooza and then have her go off into some singles runs. I think Becky is a perfect first opponent because that's sort of where they are now. But I can see her, my God, she's a great promo. And this era of WWE is all about promos.
I agree. They're selling just as much outside the ring as in the ring, and it's not, and it's certainly not as we've seen in previous iterations where it's just a promo and then the matches are no. We're getting absolutely top-rated matches now with good stories and great promos, and you're getting, they're Dusty Rhodes said famously, you got to talk them into the building, and that's exactly what they're doing. Despite the insane ticket prices and all that, people are still showing up and selling out arenas. Big numbers for attendance, big numbers for viewing across all forms, and it's mainly, you're right, because they're talking them into the building.
Yeah, and so as my question about all this, because to John's point, it's star power that buys tickets. It's star power that generates, viewership and revenue and all that stuff. You're on a show with John Cena having this incredible back and forth with Sami Zayn, and then they have this crazy match, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and then Brock Lesnar shows up, and all this stuff is happening on an episode of SmackDown that, if that was what we got, we would have been like, holy shit, what a great episode of SmackDown. If I was in the building, I'd be super happy. I would have gotten my money's worth. And then all of the other stuff with, all the stuff we just talked about. Did you happen to talk to anybody that was in the building or hear from anybody online that that was what the reaction was like?
Yeah, I talked to my buddy Craig, who is a guy who, good friend of mine, hooks us up with the suites usually every year for All Out. And this time it'll be for World's End. But I talked to him. He was there in the building last night, and he said that the energy was off the charts. The crowd was into everything. Even in the, I won't say lower level matches, but the matches, because you got to think, you're trying to follow the Sami Zayn Cena match and then go in between AJ Lee's return. That's a hard thing to do. And, you had some great, whether it was Priest and Black, Julia and Michin, the good promos from Tiffany and everybody else, the stuff from Randy and Drew. He said that everybody was into everything. The crowd was attentive. They were having a blast. And he was happy with everything he saw. And, it was a buzz and energy that city always has, but it was at another level compared to what it usually is.
Yeah, it's really cool. And of course, now with the return of AJ, so she comes back on SmackDown, but Punk's a Raw guy. Do we expect to see both of them on Raw with Becky and Seth on Monday? That would be my expectations, that Netflix would want to have that attraction on Monday night as well. So we'll have to wait and see. I will say, as a complete tangent, I signed up for NordVPN. A lot of people have been signing up for VPN with all of our different codes and stuff we're getting through podcasts. Stephanie McMahon was promoting Was it Wire Shark, I think, or something
Surf
Shark?
Shark.
Yeah, something like
Surf
that.
Shark.
Surf Shark.
Surf Shark. Wire Shark was a sniffer. Never mind.
Mhm.
And so I've been watching everything through the VPN, and it's fantastic. It's just awesome. So do that if you have the ability to. It's really cool. But I did want to touch on. We saw so much stuff, and there's a lot of stuff I want to cover tonight. I want to get to some really cool AEW news that we talked about this week, or that came out this week. For the WrestlePalooza, what's crazy to me is there's only 2 matches actually advertised right now, and that's Cena and Brock, which was just made official last night after Brock came through the curtain. It was like, I'll see you at WrestlePalooza. Okay. So, and Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquera for that vacant, for Naomi's vacant title. I think obviously we're going to get this mixed tag match. That'll be 3 matches, but I don't know what the other matches are going to look like.
I think we're going to see an Orton Drew McIntyre match. Again, nothing firm, but it seems to be going that way. They seem to be having a lot more words and harsh words to one another. So, but who's to say? We still have almost a month? No,
it's the 20th. It's
2
only
weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's
Well,
still that's still enough TV, but yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, John, Randy Orton versus Drew is set for next week on SmackDown.
Yeah, I saw that, but I think they're going to use that as a springboard to something at WrestlePalooza.
Maybe like a no holds barred match or something to that effect.
I still think we're getting Drew versus Cody, because that was the attack that they keep highlighting for WrestlePalooza. But it seems weird that they would try to burn through that storyline so quickly. They're not. WWE is not. It's not characteristic of them right now to burn through things quickly. They tend to let everything slow burn.
Yeah,
which is.
No, and I was just gonna say it also depends on Cody's schedule. As we know, he's currently overseas right now filming Street Fighter, along with Roman Reigns and New Japan star Hiroki Goto. So it's going to be depending on the schedule that he has and when the filming finishes for the time being. So it could be finished by WrestlePalooza. It may not be. It's going to be depending on that, what we see as far as that matchup, whoever Drew is going to end up facing at that event in Indy.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's gonna be interesting to see if they bring any sort of the NXT storylines into that right now, because I think there's another NXT show coming up soon, right?
Yeah, believe
in 2 weeks.
I believe it's
2 weeks.
No
Homecoming.
Mercy?
It's Homecoming.
Homecoming, yes.
Yeah, that's a regular NXT though. That's not a PLE. That's on the 16th. So that's not going to interfere with any sort of scheduling.
No.
Okay, there was a couple of things I wanted to ask you guys about, and I really, really want to get to the AEW stuff because so much is happening there right now. Just 2 things real quick that are Worlds Collide is looking really interesting to me. That's this coming Friday, which is my anniversary. No, it's the day before anniversary. No, it is our anniversary. It's Friday. Remember, it's been 36 years. So
I'm just waiting for the hand from off camera to come smack you in the back of the head for messing up your anniversary date.
We don't really celebrate it that much, but I'm excited for this Worlds Collide because this is the one in Vegas, and it's El Hijo del Vikingo versus Dominic. And as we saw at Triple Mania, we saw that Dominic is now the baby face there, and Vikingo is very much the heel. So I think it would make sense to me to put for Dominic to take this title and bring it back to WWE programming.
I get it, and I like the idea of it, but if the whole idea is to give AAA an identity per se, outside of what they have been or on their own, is that the best thing? Granted, I absolutely get it. Dom is super popular, super over. And yes, as we saw at AAA Mania, they don't like Vikingo. And I would really like to see them lean more into why they don't. And I know it's kind of sticky because of the people involved, but I would like to see them play a little bit more of that angle and then, have Dom. Because right now it looks like, to me, it just looks like they're swapping the belt for the sake of swapping the belt. And I don't know if that's, yes, it'll be popular. Yes, people will enjoy it, but I don't think it's the best way to go. But that's just me.
How about you guys?
Yeah, it's a tough decision because, I mean, if you're taking it off Vikingo, you're taking it off Vikingo for the reason being of Dirty Dom becoming the quote-unquote greatest luchador of all time. Because that's his whole thing, is he wants to be the greatest luchador of all time. How do you do that? Beat the top guy in the industry. And right now it's Vikingo. But if you're taking the belt off him, like John said, you are taking the belt off for the sake of doing that, because I think, as we know, the real situation behind why Vikingo is booed, it's a little bit of a messy thing. And fan perspective wise, like us here, we want to see Vikingo whoop Dom's ass if you're not a fan of Dirty Dom, and we want to see him, and we want to see Vikingo retain. People in Mexico are complete opposite. It's like anybody. It's like John Cena and Triple H at 22 in Chicago when the crowd completely flipped compared to other places. And I think overall, I think if we took the belt off him, I think it would leave a bad taste in some of the other fans' mouths, but the loyal crowds there, AAA, would enjoy it. Yeah.
And I'm sure Front Row will be right back, but I mean, no doubt that this Worlds Collide card is really, really stacked up and stacked with a lot of big name WWE talent. And like I said, I get it. And if they can keep the spirit of AAA and mix in WWE with it, it's going to be a very entertaining show. And it's going to be yet another, I don't want to say launching point for AAA because they do have history and stuff, but another point of exposing WWE Universe to another aspect of wrestling that they may or may not be aware of. We all are, but the average WWE fan might not know anything about the people and the history and the part of AAA and Mexican wrestling in general.
Yeah, and I think there's also there's two other matches that are really intriguing to me. One specifically, Fabi Apache versus Natalia. They specifically say Natalia, but we know that the Natty character is what we've been seeing in AAA. I think it's a great opportunity to continue to build the that side of the character and wait until it's the right time for her to show up in WWE on WWE TV. But the match that I'm really interested in, I did want to just kind of throw this up because I really love the graphic. I think it's so colorful and so cool. Finn Balor and Roxanne Perez versus Ola Vice and Mr. Iguana. That is fun. That is just a fun match. And we saw the tease with Finn with the demon puppet and Mr. Iguana and Yeska. We saw the tease at Triple Mania. It's just the whole show looks super fun, and it's free on YouTube. So just watch it because you're gonna enjoy it.
Yes, I'm hoping for an epic Yeska and Demonito battle.
That's right.
And evidently you can buy Demonitos right alongside Yeska puppets for the low price of $100. Shop WWE.com.
I'm not gonna lie, I almost bought one, but I'm I just can't justify $100. But I really wanted it up here on the shelf because it was kind of amazing, and I still might.
But
if it's
it
available.
really begs the question: are we going to see a Lily running?
Who's to say?
The match gets refereed by Mr. Sacco.
I don't think they
tease
can
me like
afford
that.
Mr. Sacco.
No,
Yeah,
or but to your point, Ezra, what if we see an appearance of the Cobra?
True.
In this day and age, anything is possible.
It's true. Could be Huskus the pig. We don't know.
Good.
Could be anything. Who's to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk some AEW because I don't get a chance to watch it as much anymore. I don't have HBO Max, and I pretty much just watch everything on Netflix now. So, but I see the clips and I get all the updates from you guys. All Out looks really interesting. I'm surprised that there's only 3 matches advertised so far. But to me, the most intriguing match on this card right now is obviously Cope and Christian versus FTR, because there's so much history there. They've been friends for so long. This story, this like tentative partnership between Edge and Christian. I will say Edge because that Edge and Christian story goes back so far. I think they're doing a really nice job of like bridging those stories, bridging the history and to where they are today. How do you guys feel about the way that they're building this story?
I like it. I really do, because you're keeping Christian as who he is. You're not changing his character for the sake of the storyline. Christian is still an asshole. He's still, as Edge, Adam would affectionately call him, a dick. We still got the turtleneck. We still got the countdown. We still got the dead father jokes. I mean, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, when Edge tried to shut them down, and he finally says, "You're a bunch of sickos." Fine. He gives him the mic, and then he says, "That bitch is dead." I was hysterically laughing. That's what I love. It's 2 different polar opposites. You got Adam fighting the good fight, doing anything he can to stop FTR, versus Christian, who's doing this because Adam helped him fight Christian's problem, which was the patriarchy. And in FTR, you can't go wrong with FTR in a tag team match. I mean, it's like putting the Hardys, Edge, and Christian, and the Dudleys together. You can't go wrong when you put those 3 together. You can't go wrong when you put FTR in a tag team scenario with a good team. And we know how legendary Adam and Christian are. So this is going to be a banger of a match, that's for sure. And I like the way they're building it, a little bit at a time, in Christian's attitude, with the smidge changing, but still being that same old asshole we always know.
How about you, John?
Well, I give a lot of credit to AEW just in general right now, because they have a lot of their big stars out with injury or other reasons. You have no Will Ospreay. You have no Swerve Strickland. They're even pivoting away slightly from the Death Riders. You're seeing Moxley here and there, but they've been showing a lot and having matches with Gabe Kidd, and they're, I don't want to say they're getting away from the Death Riders, but it seems like they're trying to give it some kind of a refresh to keep it interesting, because they don't have some of their big regulars to hang stories with. Even the 2 best stories to me in AEW right now are FTR and Edge and Christian, and MJF and Hangman Page. And they're doing a real good job of letting all those guys involved to kind of just cook and tell their story the way they want to do it. And we're getting bits and pieces and more. And just to show you how AEW is evolving, they're letting things cook and letting things build to a point where, okay, at All Out, we're going to see this, come to a head. And they never used to do that. They would, famously burn through matches just to burn through matches, and you're even seeing that more so on the women's side, where you have one of the heaviest hitters in Toni Storm, she's not even the main story right now. And it's very interesting how they're developing other things just because they have so many people out on injury.
So how do you feel? Okay, so you brought up Toni Storm. I still feel like she's one of the biggest draws in the company, and I understand that Mercedes is a big star. She's in Hollywood. Has this legendary WWE career.
Mm.
If I had to say one person made me buy a ticket, most of the time it's going to be Toni Storm because of the character work and the story that she's been telling over the last 3+ years. I find her to be far more interesting currently than Mercedes. In fact, what I wanted to ask you guys about is it was made official, I guess, that Mercedes is facing Riho challenging for that TBS title. But what is the story like? Again, I don't see out every week. So, like, Riho hasn't really wrestled recently, right? Like, what is...
No, she just returned last week.
So how does she have a title match on a big pay-per-view?
Because she returned and challenged Mercedes.
Okay. I just think that Mercedes is a big star. I feel like to best showcase what she can do in the ring and on the mic and stuff, she's best when she's involved in an incredible story. She's done it through her whole career, both in AEW and in WWE. The stuff that she just did with Athena was great. And we can continue to throw flowers on Athena because I think she's the most credible champion possibly in all of wrestling currently. So I don't get this match. I saw the announcement. And I was like, oh, I remember coming on Zoom with you guys. And I was like, okay, I saw the announcement, but what's the story? What did I miss? I don't think I missed anything.
No, and you didn't. It literally is playing out exactly the way you described. Riho comes back after a long break due to injury, steps in the ring. I think she did a run-in on the save because Mercedes was wrestling Alex Windsor or Mrs. Ospreay. And Mercedes retained, but then afterwards starts putting the beat down on Alex Windsor. Riho comes in, makes the save, and I guess that's enough to get a title shot.
Okay.
And my thinking is, yes, there's not much to this, but I'm hoping that it leads to something. I still think the biggest money in Monet is she has all these belts and then it's come out and said she wants to be, the belt collector. They have that cool visual of all the belts on the top rope when she comes in the ring and make her entrance. She wants to be who's the one that had 10 titles?
Ultimo Dragon.
Thank you, Ezra. She wants to be 11 and whatever. But I still think the big money with Mercedes is she can't get the one that she really wants, which is the AEW Women's title. And the beauty of that is it's all about that title. It's not about any of her 8, 9, 10 other titles. And it doesn't even have anything to do with particularly if Toni Storm is the champion or not. It doesn't matter who the women's champion is. It's about that belt. And I'm hoping that they start to do something along these lines other than her just going here, there, and everywhere collecting these belts. But there has to be some sort of a push or a payoff to, and developing the story that, she can have 20 belts if she wants, but she can't have the one that she really, really wants. Because the TBS championship was never a main women's title. Obviously, the women's championship is. So even though she holds that and 7, 10 other belts, it's not the world title. And that gives credibility. Just her on the hunt for that belt gives credibility to whoever holds it because it's the one that she can't have. And like I said, the beauty of it is she can't. It doesn't matter who the champion is.
I remember. Okay, so to your point, like two things. First of all, I was comparing that in my head to like the John Cena Sami Zayn match. That came out of nowhere. There was no story there. And you go, okay, but like Sammy's the U.S. champion. He's doing the flip of the John Cena U.S. title open challenge. John's challenging for that title, and then John goes on to do all these like tribute finishers throughout the. You go, okay, so all of that makes sense, and it's also we're down to single digits for Cena's last appearances, so you kind of give that a pass because it's like we're trying to get our shit in, right? It's before he leaves. But on paper, you go, why is this match happening? So when I see Riho versus Mercedes, I'm like, okay, maybe was there an open challenge? Was Mercedes coming out cutting a promo saying, hey, I'll take on any comers, and then Riho shows up? Maybe that happened. I don't know. If there was like an invitation to come and challenge me, you know, come get some type of thing, then that makes sense.
To me, when it comes when you're comparing the two, the John Cena Sami Zayn match though stems from John Cena doing the U.S. Open Challenge 10 years ago, and Sammy answering that challenge. So Sammy, now being the United States champion, decided, hey, I'm going to repay the favor that you did for me when I made my debut. Why not, with you on the way out, why don't you face me for this? There is some history there. There is some story there because it's from nearly a decade ago, and it's something that they wanted to revisit. However, with the Riho situation, I don't see any past history. I don't see any sort of anything coming from this. So for me, when it was announced that she was getting a title shot, it threw me for a complete loop. I'm like, why is this happening? And you know, I'm still befuddled by why we're getting this match. You know, and you got 2 weeks to build it up to make it more digestible and to make it seem exciting. I don't know how they're going to work it. I hope they figure it out, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's premature to judge it because, like you said, there's still one, two, three, four, at least four episodes of TV if you include Collision and Dynamite. So there's a bunch of TV time between now and then for them to tell a story. And maybe this is just the first chapter into a triple threat or something else happening. Like, we don't know, right? So I'm not gonna say it sucks because we haven't seen it yet or how it's gonna play out. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they could do between now and then. So we'll have to wait and see. One of the big things that did come out from the world of AEW this week was the announcement that HBO Max would be streaming AEW pay-per-views. And I think this is a huge deal. I know we're going to talk about the pricing and all that in a minute, but just that statement tells me that a company as big as HBO Max is a massive streaming platform. We already have the partnership where they're streaming and simulcasting, you know, the AEW weekly shows, which is also a huge deal. We have people in our group who have HBO Max just to watch AEW, right? Like, and I think it draws people to their platform. I don't think it's nearly as high as some of the reports are saying because they don't actually release their viewership information, but I do think it's a net positive for sure. And on the pricing side of it, it's a discount if you have HBO Max. So HBO Max, so I'm like, I did some research. I'm like, is this going to work for me? Maybe this is something I need to do. But it's $10 a month for the commercial version. It's like $16 a month for the ad-free version. But then you get a $10 discount. It's $40 for the pay-per-views instead of $50. So it's like a net zero. But then you get all the AEW stuff for free. Essentially, not for free, but included. I would personally like to see it part of a streaming service platform, like as far as like Netflix includes everything or Peacock includes everything for one service fee. I'm not a big fan of having to pay for a platform or a service and then paying another upcharge because that's the UFC model right now.
Yeah.
But it's really wildly successful for them. So maybe it will bring the other thing. I'm rambling, but I'll ask you a question. So when somebody logs into HBO Max and it's a big pay-per-view coming up, they're going to see a lot more people are going to see AEW's branding than they would have before this deal was struck. It's a huge marketing deal for them.
Yeah, I agree. Just at face value, from a visual standpoint, it's really huge for AEW. You know, they kind of had this, limited partnership with HBO Max before with the weekly product, but now it's like, okay, they're committing to featuring AEW as part of their programming. And I agree, they're going to get a lot more eyes, and at least it might not turn into actual views and or dollars per se, but it's, you can't deny that HBO Max is one of the biggest streaming platforms, I think, outside of, if I read correctly, outside of Netflix and I think second
Amazon
was
Prime.
Peacock.
Prime
was second. Yeah. But, that's still, it's a huge step forward for AEW as far as getting that program or getting that programming in front of as many eyes as possible. And I agree, I'm not into paying a price and then having to pay again for something. I'm old school. Give me, there was nothing wrong with the old WWE network setup. It was horribly antiquated when it started, but it was nice to be able to go to one spot, pay one fee, and have everything. And those who may or may not be savvy, and I'm becoming one of those ones that are more and more savvy, you can do that now with a VPN, but we won't go into that right now. But I think overall it's a win for AEW, and it shows that this quote unquote upstart company, even though it's been 6 years now, their people are interested, and companies and especially streaming platforms are interested in their product and showing it.
Okay, so two things. First of all, I think it's incredibly cool that we think that 2014 is old school. But also, I think that it's an amazing time that we live in when major corporations who years ago would have just spit on the idea of pro wrestling are now throwing billions of dollars at these major companies because they desperately want their content. I'm watching SportsCenter giving us updates on AJ Lee's return. I'm seeing like the craziest shit that we would have never thought happened 10 or 15 years ago is just the world that we live in now as wrestling fans. And I think I really ignore a lot of the online stuff because I sound super old there, but I mean specifically the trolls and the people who are just shitty in the comments. Everybody's really excited in the wrestling world right now. If you are working in the wrestling industry, it is an incredibly lucrative and exciting time to be in, no matter what company you're in, whether it's the big ones, the small ones, the indies, everybody's eating, right? And it's a fantastic thing. So, whether we have these conversations about, I wish they would do this, or I wish I got this for free, or I wish, but at the same time, all of this amazing stuff is happening. So as I know Ezra, you typically have like a bigger view on this stuff because you watch more of like New Japan and Stardom and a lot more products than I necessarily get a chance to see. So for you, how do you choose which things you subscribe to?
For me, it depends on two things: price and quality. Excuse me. To me, price and quality of the events that we get, especially on the independents, is definitely part of my idea. Because if I'm getting, like for instance, Triller TV Plus, you're getting GCW, Pro Wrestling Revolver, which by the way has a show tonight in just about 10 minutes. Yep. So you can watch that on Triller Plus. But that you get so much, you get kickboxing, you get bare knuckle boxing, you get all different sorts of stuff on there. And you get it for $7.99 a month. You can't beat that. While I would love for this HBO Max deal to include the pay-per-views as part of the package, I understand kind of why they're doing this. But to me, yes, the discount is a cool thing to have. And maybe it's not my thing because I'm a guy who's on a very limited income and can't afford to pay for a bunch of streaming services. So I have to pick and choose. But, of course I'm going to go VPN. Thank you, Neil. But it's for me, it's a matter of price and quality just based on what I see. Like New Japan World for the longest time, and still is, gave you banger matches after banger matches. And it was only $9.99 a month. That was the perfect thing for me. WWE Network, same thing. Even Peacock, up until the recent change to ESPN, was perfect. I pay $10 a month, $11 a month for Premium Plus with no ads. And I got everything. And that was perfect. But like you said, this deal is perfect because it allows it allows the branding, like you said, to get more eyes on it. Because when you go to that HBO Max page after you log in, what are you going to see as one of the things on the ticker? AEW's logo. You're going to see that logo and that branding for the upcoming event that they're going to want to sell you. And that, to me, that's perfect. Yes, while I do agree with some people's points about not having to pay an extra upcharge to watch the pay-per-view while you're already paying for the streaming. Look, we know how good their cards are. If I had the money, I would probably pay it, and it would be worth it. But overall, good job by AEW, good job HBO Max.
Yeah, and I agree with Neil. Because we were chanting this.
One more thing, Furrow. We thought 2015 was old, and Nintendo Wii's are vintage. Our lives are over.
Yeah, no. What do they call the Wii is now classified as a retro console.
Yeah, it's classified as retro. Our lives are done.
Yeah, it's pretty much over. I'm gonna go get my affairs in order immediately after the show. I haven't had any affairs. Just kidding. But it's a super exciting time. Like it's yeah, right. But it is a really cool time. Like I think that, like you said, on a night like tonight when you have, I think Collision's on tonight, right? It wasn't a weird night this week. And you have GCW has like 4 shows a week. I don't know. I'm sure there's something on tonight.
Actually, they are off this weekend till next weekend when they do the Homecoming West Coast or LA out at the UCC.
Yep.
But Sammy Callahan's Wrestling Revolver, there's always a great show. They always put on a great show, and you never know who's going to show up at those things. It's just fun. It's super fun. I'm really excited to be a fan right now. This is going to be an interesting couple of weeks leading up to that Saturday. I am glad that AEW moved their start time for All Out to 3 p.m. because that gives you time. In theory, it gives you time to watch both shows, although we pretty much can be assured that there'll be an overrun into WrestlePalooza. Right. Okay. That's why we have on demand. That's why we can watch stuff whenever we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to kind of miss these like early overseas. Oh, before we end, once again, fucking Paris killed it. Their crowds were
reigning and defending.
Oh, like this is several years running now. The Lyon, the Paris, a lot of the European crowds. John, you always say it, but we better step up. Like our crowd.
I'm telling you, man, we're getting our asses kicked.
Chicago brought their A game last night, but that's only one in a row.
Yeah, we need that Chicago energy to carry out for the next 6 months.
In Poughkeepsie,
or at least, yes, even in Poughkeepsie. But
I've been to Poughkeepsie. There's no energy there.
Well, it could be worse. It could be Sheboygan. So,
Steven,
Steven's right.
He is right. By the way, Steven's been super opinionated lately, and I love it. I'm here for it.
well, and Steven specifically, when we talk about crowd reactions and stuff, for those that may or may not know, and I'm not totally convinced of it sometimes, but Steven is blind. And so the only thing he has, and he enjoys wrestling just as much as we do. We sit with him every night in Zoom. All he has is noise. All he has is the crowd to give him some sort of feedback on what's going good or anything else. So when Steven talks about how loud a crowd was or reactions, I put a lot more credit into it because this is a guy that, we're all distracted by the visual at times and lose sight of a lot of things. Steven doesn't have that. So he really is reliant, like Bully always says, he doesn't watch wrestling, he listens to it. And that's what Steven does.
Yeah, it is interesting to experience the show through Steven's perspective, and he does give us a lot of feedback. I remember quick story. Shannon and I and Steven and some other folks were at WrestleCade a few years ago. That was when Dave and Mark were doing their Nation Across the Nation. And Mark Henry came over and he was sort of joking with us, and we were sitting around talking, and Mark was asking Steven about his experience, as a person without sight, and how he experiences how important commentary is and how important the correct production elements are to really give that full experience, and where the best places to sit when you go to see live shows. Is it up front? Is it in the center? So it's a very unique perspective, and I'm grateful to have Steven as a friend, to be able to really understand that perspective. So yeah, it's a great point by you, and thank you, Steven. Okay, guys, it is almost time for snacks. I'm getting hungry, getting thirsty, need a cigar. So, John, where can people find you on the socials?
As it says, right? Wait, I'm going to do it this time. Right there. I did it. At John in South Jersey on the X or Twitter, and also on Instagram. And while you're on Instagram, also you can keep up with the exploits of the most dangerous weapon in all of professional wrestling now, version 5. And he is still almost naked, people, to the point where if I show him in public, he may get arrested. Stickers, hit me up. Get your spot on the Ass Kicker 9000, the AK9K. And you can follow all of his exploits at Ass Kicker 9K on Instagram.
How about you, S?
You can follow me right here, Deadman469, across Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to follow Too Sweet Cosplay, my cosplay theme group out of Chicago. We always do things pro wrestling related, go to shows, do Comic-Cons, C2E2 Fan Expo, become kind of our biggest areas. Right now, we're kind of looking at seeing what's that for next year. So keep an eye on our socials for updates. Also, don't forget to follow Our Nation Sports Show at Owen_Sports Show on Twitter and everywhere else, including YouTube, where we do our show live, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Tuesdays, talking all things in the world of sports. This week coming up, we're going to be recapping week 1 of the NFL and doing our predictions on week 2. So please find us there, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Tuesdays for all things sports related on Our Nation Sports Show.
Very cool. And I know, John, I know where you can get. Oh, go ahead.
I have one quick thing. I just wanted to point out a huge happy birthday to our social media queen and host, the lovely and talented Deb Housen, who is in fact one half of the hottest and best intergender tag team in all of professional wrestling. 2 breasts and 1 leg. And it is her birthday tomorrow. She is at Ocean City, Maryland, at the beach with her family celebrating. Love you, Deb. Enjoy your birthday. See you next week.
Yes, happy birthday, Deb. Deb does a shit ton of work for this show and the group every day, social media, tons of stuff. So we appreciate you. But John, you know where you can get stickers? John and I will be at WrestleCade this year again in November. WrestleCade promises to be freaking huge. Last year was by far their biggest year. It was packed. They had tons of shows. I saw, we've been following along on socials for all the announced guests and the different panels. It's going to be amazing. I know some of the people from the Busted Open Nation have already contacted us to say that they'll be there. If you're coming to WrestleCade, hit us up, DMs, whatever. Just let us know you're going to be there, and we'll get together and do something.
We even have crew members playing on next year already.
Yes. Yes,
So.
at least a couple. Yes. So,
listen, kid, I still have priority at Casa front row, so you get what you get. You're not, you're not gonna pull the weight and kick the old man out of his suite. It ain't gonna happen. You can get the couch.
Well, I have good news. We have freed up a bedroom. My father-in-law has found his own place with his girlfriend. They moved into a really cool new apartment, and we've regained our extra bedroom, so we have enough space for you and your prodigy.
Yeah, but don't tell her that.
I was going to charge her. I'm just,
Oh, good.
There's a fee.
Good. Yes. By all means.
I thought the fee was boxed wine and cigars.
No, that's my
it's
price.
Barter system. We do the barter system. It's fine.
Yes, we do. But she got to pay. You give me all the money she owes me. Damn right.
Steven's comment in the chat about John's leg. Oh my goodness.
Who's saying it's like a
Why not?
That's a mic drop. I'm just gonna give my socials and get out of here. You can find me at PW Front Row on the socials. I'm not on there that much, but I will retweet a ton of stuff. You can find us at Nation's Corner on Twitter and The Nation's Corner across all the other socials. Man, it is a good time to be a fan. I am super excited. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Y'all have an awesome week and enjoy wrestling. See you later.